The Zenless Zone Zero devs did not do a good job here in this special dev update. They did an amazing job! Come on, guys! Sorry for the scare, folks, but man, was this dev note so enlightening. I'm sure you guys are just as excited, if not more pumped than I am, about the new updates around the corner. Welcome, ZZZ Proxies, it's your boy Josh. And you did see that right, I did do a double upload today. Yippee, look at me go! But aside from this first video, which I did a video essay on why I'm returning to Honkai Star Rail, which you should go check that one out after this video, we'll be discussing the major changes that you should be paying attention to, as this video will be a lifting off point for the conversation surrounding the next year of Zenless Zone Zero, which I don't want to spoil till we get to everything, but I'm not gonna lie, all of these future planned updates seem pretty damn fire. Let's talk about why. Before we get to the content, I must announce that Sunshines360, congratulations, you are our first weekly Internet Pass giveaway winner for this month. Make sure to subscribe, as my goal on this channel is to hit 25k subscribers by the end of this month. It only takes one click for y'all to be a part of this growing community. So make sure to join the movement and make sure to hit that like button. Our like goal is 1,000 likes. Hey, let's get it. First, let's start off where the live stream begun, with talking about the new content of 2.x. Yes, the devs actually went and teased quite a bit about Yunquei Summit. The closest translation I could come up with was a very distant word related to cloud, so you can actually just call the new area or faction the Cloud Summit faction. So as far as said Cloud Summit faction, the location of the area is right next to a hollow, as the whole place acts more like a fortress, and was constructed after the fall of the old capital to look after the Lemillion Hollow, another new hollow that we'll most likely want to discover as the proxies to find more answers about our past. Now, aside from the lore, the more impactful parts revolve around the implicated characters. Namely, the newest character to be teased aside from Zhu Fufu is Jshoea. My guess is that this extremely powerful character from the new faction will be nominated or is already going to become a new Void Hunter. Or at least that's the sentiment I get when we talk about the little bits and pieces about what we hear about her power. She seems to be able to control this dark, shadowy power and can also summon familiars, which seems pretty OP to me, especially when Zenless Zone Zero is mostly rooted in science and mechanics. The only two characters that seem to have superpowers, one of them being Miyabi with her Cursed Blade Talus, and now second, our potential Jshoea. Let me know in the comments down below, which faction are you guys most excited for? The Cloud Summit faction, more Obol Squad members, or the newest Angels of Delulu? And as I said just now, we not only got teased about the Yunquei Summit faction, but more Obol's presence and the teased Angels of Delusion also having involvement with the latest main story, which is going to be super hype. I understand many of us are loving the new VTuber models, and I personally am always a fan of the Chinese-inspired regions of the Ye, and yes, even the Luofu. I just hope that spending one extra year to write and produce the new Chinese-inspired regions and maps and story bears peak cinematic fruit, because there's a lot of expectations going into a second year of a Hoyo game. Look at Inazuma for Genshin and Penacony for Honkai Star Rail. How they were such widely successful launches for the respective games, I too expect Zenless Zone Zero to match that level of development and content. Next, we move to some more structural updates. The ones I wanted to highlight specifically was the merging of stories and blending of special programs, character story quests, and main proxy quests. As of the past 1.6, it was very critiqued that the fact that a ton of the content related to Soldier Zero Ambi's portion of the main quest was behind the Sambi story quest. Yet there was no prompt in order to let us know that they actually flipped the chronological order of the storytelling, putting a somewhat bad taste in folks' mouths who got confused by doing the main story first and then the character story second. Thank God I had chat to tell me to do the Sambi story first, or I would have been in the same boat. But I can sympathize in the sense that this is definitely an oversight by the devs, and that they didn't let us know before. They are going to be rectifying this in future updates. First, they're going to be adjusting how they present the order of stories, because having the Sambi story and its context behind the quest isn't inherently a bad thing, but if you don't tell your audience about it, then that's where you're going to get some angry players. And two, it seems like they're also restructuring the storytelling to make sure that they blend the stories, if they are related, in a much more streamlined way, meaning that it should be more digestible content. And not to get it confused with it being simplified, it's just more streamlined to make it more efficient for us to play through, which is an amazing thing to address. Next, we not only have the blending of stories, but we have the blending of our environments. They mentioned in the update that we are going to release areas that blended combat and residential areas together more seamlessly. I believe that this is going to be the next big factor that really helps to immerse the player base, as I do get a bit sad that the interactions that I can do in areas is completely different from combat areas. Now, not that I want to be flailing tailless around in the middle of a busy street, but having stories, quests, events that are in areas that move from residential to combative zones is just more realistic than having to jump into the HDD system to boot up the round itself. So having things blend better is going to be an overall dub and open up more things like the storytelling itself, as mentioned before. Then we head over to combat, my bread and butter. And this is where we get to talk about the meta and raising the ships of the older characters. While I did address that they've already been looking to buffing and aligning the older characters, which with the new ones going forward into 2.x, which I think is an amazing thing since it took HSR 2 years to do it, and Genshin, well, they haven't really gotten to that yet. Sorry, Diluc and Eula mains. But I digress. ZZZ borrowed a page from the old Hoyo book and used the Lost Void to playtest some of the ways in which they could buff characters that were underbalanced, like Corrin or Jane. The physical units are going to really need some help soon with the prevalence of electric and ether characters on the horizon, and you can't forget about how good ice is, and soon more fire units to pair with these juggernauts. I personally might be hosting a roundtable discussion on other things that ZZZ could balance, but for now we can look forward to older characters being brought up to match the performance of the current meta, which is definitely a positive. And not only that, we could be getting new mechanics for enemies that sees them have potential boosts or new effects when under certain conditions. For those who have played HI3, we know this concept very well: weather conditions. Personally, I'm a neutral when it comes to weather just because the weather can sometimes directly dictate the exact units you should bring, but I'm hopeful that with weather, much like general buffs, it's only more of a positive and that doesn't detract from other units being able to clear content, which is how the game should be. But we'll have to see what effect these environmental conditions, as they mentioned in the livestream, will have on the game state. And lastly, something everyone can enjoy: the minigames. The devs are looking to bring back the fan favorites, expanding on said game modes that we love, like Fall Guys, and trying out some more new casual events and minigames that provide a more comprehensive and immersive experience with each of the characters, which I personally have been really enjoying the new enhanced combat trials that they give to each character story, so that we get to trial out the new S-tier agents in a more realistic setting for those unsure whether or not to pick up XUAN unit. I'm extremely hopeful about the extracurriculars around Zenless Zone Zero because that's been one of the coolest things and has really been able to enhance my overall experience and add a little bit more playing time to my week. That said, let me know down in the comments what your favorite part about this dev update is and the implications that these new points could bring to our overall Zenless Zone Zero experience. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as we are on our road to 25k subscribers here on YouTube. And with that, I'll be talking more about this dev update and more subsequent updates over on my Twitch live stream, so make sure to check out the lives. My name is Josh, and that wraps up the Season 2 Dev Discussion Review. Make sure to click on this next video because you too thinks you'll like it. Thanks so much for watching.